Week 12, we have arrived, baby. Waiver wires, hot and heavy. Chaos in the streets. It's apocalypse. Everything's going down. People don't have players to start. We're talking about these fun players on Reddit that you've never heard of. This is the life of the fantasy content creator of the fantasy football universe. It is myself. Hashtag I need more Elijah and Mr. Hashtag risk it all on another T Hill. How you doing today, Jeremy?
Yeah, if Taysom Hill's available, I might go get me some Nate Adkins. Guys talk about guys you never heard of. I had to Google his name again just to make sure that was his actual name. I won't be doing that with Nate Adkins, but I will be going after the other T Hill. Risk it all, baby. All my fab. Dump it. Let's go.
Yeah, he's still only rostered 52% of league, so you definitely have a shot, folks. Like, I'm surprised, but hey, it is what it is. Like, I'm surprised Jonnu Smith has more roster than Taysom Hill, but people love Jonnu Smith. Apparently, I guess it's 2024. Who knows what's going on in these streets these days? We got a question about running backs. We'll cycle into running backs through here. Do you think you could plug and play Amir Abdullah this week? Because we don't know how this Las Vegas Raiders situation is. And by the way, for the bottom tier of running backs for Raiders, I just put healthy Raiders running back because there's a ton of guys that are injured. We don't know how it's going to go. Like maybe Zamir White's there. We talked about Alexander Madison. He got injured. They have Dylan Lobby on the roster. I would say just pick up a running back if you need one in this range. But Amir Abdullah was the passing down fast last week. Are you comfortable? I guess not comfortable, but are you willing to stream him if you were desperate?
Absolutely not. No. I don't think the Raiders score a touchdown against Denver. I don't think it happens. Yeah, it's not happening. I'd be surprised. Could it be, if they do score one touchdown, could it be Amir Abdullah? Could. I mean, it was last week against Miami. But could it be Zamir? Could it be Gardner Minshew sneaking it in? Could it be Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers? It should be, right? It shouldn't be Amir Abdullah. If he doesn't score, you're not happy with his performance. No. I'm a big no on Amir.
Yeah, I think if Alexander Madison's out, you could roll with Zamir White if you wanted to, but it's gross, man.
Yes.
It's gross. You have to be careful.
Yes.
There's other guys in this lower tier we'll talk about that I much prefer. And we'll talk about the 0-25% of roster guys. I'm going to continue to pound the table for Jaylen Wright because he's the RB2 now in that offense. It's good. And there's injury upside if Devon Achane happens. That's how he truly gets unleashed. But we've seen in the last 2 weeks, like he's been viable. He's getting the role and like they're going to freaking score points this week. I would not be shocked to see him going into the end zone because the New England Patriots have given up 10 rushing touchdowns on the year already. They're going to add to that total. Maybe it's HN, but like there's a pathway for Wright. So I like Wright in this range. He's only 50% rostered. The other guys are Cam Akers, 22% if you're desperate. Roshan Johnson at 14%, but I hate the Roshan Johnson matchup. I don't want to play him in that matchup.
Yeah.
And then Blake Corum, 23%. He's earning a little bit more, but it's still the Kyron Williams show. So like all these guys in this range, you're basically counting on touchdowns is what it's counts. I think Wright gives you the best of those players. Are you targeting Wright this week? And then also if you can't get Wright, who else would you target instead?
I don't mind Wright. But like you said, he's kind of a longer term play. You're almost banking on an injury or that he just takes over that clear cut RB2 role. And he hasn't done it yet because Raheem Mostert's still being used in the passing game. I assume it's because Raheem Mostert is most likely the best pass blocker of the bunch there, which is why he's going to be on the field. But it's Roshan for me. I agree with you. Minnesota, then Detroit, then San Francisco, then Minnesota, then Detroit again. Like the schedule sucks.
That's so
the
bad.
Schedule sucks. But, at the detriment of DeAndre Swift, Roshan came in. He got 10 carries. He found the end zone. So I'll roll with Roshan and just assume that the usage is going to be there from here on out. But it is Jaylen Wright first.
Yeah, I think to your point, that schedule is terrifying. Like if Roshan doesn't get a touchdown, which he's found his way in the end zone quite a bit this year. Like that's the one thing he's good. He hasn't been really good outside of that. But yeah, you could do it. I think you could do it if you need to. I kind of view him similar to those Raiders running backs. It's like it needs to break right for him. I think is the best way to put it. We got a question here. Trade deadline. You need to plug and play for Chase Brown. Who got Bucky Irving? Yeah, I'm rolling with Bucky over Javonte.
Yes,
like
sir.
I get it with Javonte. I'm just have a hard time trusting this backfield. It's been all over the place. Javonte was good last week, but I think Bucky has a pathway to like getting an even bigger role in that offense. And his like floor is really high. So personally, I'm gonna rank Bucky over Javonte, but they're not too far apart for me. So who would you roll with, Javonte, or would you go with Bucky?
No, it's Bucky. I don't even remember who Denver's playing. I know we just talked about it. I don't care. It's Bucky Irving. Bucky Irving has the league winning potential. And by that, I mean the fact that he is going to win you your league over these next 6 weeks. The Giants, Carolina, Vegas, the Chargers, not great, Dallas, and then Carolina in the championship week. Bucky Irving is going to go off in neutral to positive game scripts. Rachaad White is quite clearly the receiving back, but Bucky can get there in the receiving game. He's done it. At least 3 targets in every game over the last month, and one game is 7 targets. Bucky Irving is the guy you want. If he's not on your team, go out and get him for whatever it takes right now. The schedule is juicy. His usage is fantastic. And he's the guy I want in that backfield over everybody else. So I'm rolling with Bucky.
Yeah, I don't care about starting 2 guys on the same team. Like, I'll start 2 guys on the same team without the quarterback. Like, I'll stack them naked, where it's just like I'll roll with both of those guys if they're good enough. Like, you got Cade Otton, he's a top 5 tight ends, and I saw him on waivers in one of the leagues, and I was like, oh my gosh. And then Bucky Irving, if he's on waivers, which I'm assuming this is a smaller league because both like Bucky's on waivers and he's usually not available. So yeah, you could drop Tank Dell for duty if you wanted to, but we'll kind of talk about wide receivers here in a minute once we get through running backs. Let's go to the next tier of running backs and talk about those guys as I find my place here. All right, middle tier. The top guy I'm making the case for this week is Trey Benson. Rostered 31% of leagues. They're coming off of their bye. The previous 2 games before that, double-digit performances in both of those. He's snap shares increased. It's going. Connor's dealing with a little bit of injury, so I think that's kind of leading into this. But like, Connor's never played more than 14 games in a season. He's going to miss time at some point this year. Like, it's just how James Conner plays. Yeah. So I think you're getting Trey Benson for this to have a partial role, similar to kind of like Jaylen Wright, just a little bit better role on a good offense. And then there's a pathway for more work if Connor does get injured. So I like him a lot in this range. But the other guys in this tier are all these kind of handcuffs who have upside attached to them. As we talk about them, it's the guys like Ray Davis, who's rostered 27% of leagues. I think Ray Davis is a really good one. Gus Edwards, we've seen him come on. He's at 31%. He's playing a more of a role playing. What's interesting is they kind of split it with Haskins, but like, he still has a role where you can get touchdowns in that offense. It's, the Chargers are rolling. I don't mind that. Tyjae Spears is very risky, but he's at 50%. There's a pathway for him. And Zach Charbonnet at 48%. Like, it's just, that's more injury baked upside. So are you going for Benson? And if you're not going for Benson, who would you go for in this range?
No, I'm going for Benson. I like these other backs. I like Ray Davis. I like Charbonnet. It's just the usage is not there for them. The usage is there for Benson. The thing with Benson is that not only did we just talk about the Arizona defense being good, but the fact that they're not only rolling him out in garbage time. There's a lot of garbage time that has existed for Trey Benson, and I think James Conner still is the 1A, but there's a massive role here. Amari DeMarcado remains involved. It's possible we start to see him, and we've already saw him last week, kind of take a back seat to Trey Benson. Trey Benson is getting 8 and then 10 opportunities in the running game. He's getting a couple of targets here and there as well. Out after the bye as a rookie running back, that's the bet that I want to make. I think it's quite possible, especially on a team with playoff aspirations, if they can beat Seattle, which they should be able to beat them at least once. If they can, win out basically New England, Carolina, those are winnable games. The Rams, that's another winnable one. There's nothing really scary on their schedule. This team should make the playoffs. And because of that, you want this 2-headed monster at full speed, kind of headed into that wild card matchup. So I think Trey Benson gets more run here in the second half after the bye. So yeah, he's my big one.
Like, we always talk about the post-bye rookie bump. Like, you nailed that. I think that's a good one to bet on. And the bad thing that sucks about this week is week 12 is a murderer's row for running backs. Here's all the guys that are out this week. We have James Cook is out due to a bye week for Buffalo. We have Bijan Robinson with the Falcons. He's missing. Cincinnati Bengals. Why am I blanking on his name?
Brown.
Chase Brown. He's out. Jacksonville Jaguars. Travis Etienne's kind of coming back alive. Alvin Kamara with the Saints and Breece Hall with the Jets. That's like 6 of the top 12 running backs right there, pretty much. Like, that's a lot of running backs. So you're kind of stuck. You're like, all right, what do we do? So if you need people, because people are going to need guys this week, like, I think Benson gives you the best bet along those guys. But and to answer your question, Jason, yes, I would drop Estimé for Javonte. Yes, like Roshan, it's just we just talked about that. I really don't want to bet under Roshan.
With Javonte, yes.
Who would you go rest of the season, Jay Daniels or Baker Mayfield? Because it's Baker's been awesome, man.
Yeah, it's probably got to be Baker by a lot. I just want to have a look at what Jaden Daniels is looking at rest of the season. I mean, I think he's got Dallas once. Next week. I mean, he's absolutely going to smash next week. Tennessee. I mean, the schedule is decent for him. He's got at least 3 smash games, but he does have a bye in there. Baker is past his bye. Baker has been playing better. Baker has the better offensive line. Baker is getting Mike Evans back. How can it not be Baker Mayfield? Oh, the schedule is juicy for Baker Mayfield. It's Baker by a ton. Twice, 2 more Carolina matchups. We just talked about this, Bucky Irving. He's got Dallas on the schedule. He's got the Giants, got Vegas. Yeah, it's Baker by a mile here. Baker.
Yeah, like Baker's consistently outperforming his role, like with the touchdowns. He's just been really good this year. I don't mind going Jayden Daniels because the rushing is there, but like he's dealing with that injury, and that's the thing that worries me. If he was fully healthy, I would say it's clearly Jayden Daniels. Yeah, you can go Baker. Like I don't mind Baker at all. Like he's really good. He seems safer, which is interesting to say. I would think that's where I would Baker. But yeah, it's juicy matchup. I claim both.
Also.
Yeah. Like see who you could go with between the two. Like if you can't get one, make a bid. Whoever cheaper, like you get one of those guys, I'd be fine with that. So if you're deciding between those guys, it's not a bad question to go through. Let's go to the top tier of running backs and get those guys done before we move to wide receivers, because wide receivers are probably the most interesting group. Top tier running backs. I'm going to make the case for Jonathan Brooks. I know it has been down bad for us Jonathan Brooks fans, but I still believe in the talent of Jonathan Brooks. 62% rostered. Like this is what we talk about with rookies post bye. He hasn't been on the field, so he's not really going to get a bump because he hasn't played yet. But like he's getting on the field at least now, so we'll see how this happens. I just think it's an interesting running backfield to kind of invest in, because that's really the only thing that's giving them fantasy points is that backfield in general. I would say the other guys, Jaylen Warren at 56%. I'll keep making the case for Jaylen Warren, particularly if an injury happens to Najee, he can go through the roof. Jordan Mason is the backup in San Francisco. If something happens to CMC, he's at 53%. And then I know Audric Estimé just had a disastrous run out, but he's one of the few guys available in this range where you kind of want to see what happens with this backfield, 55%. So I don't mind them. Of these 4 guys, is it Brooks for you, or you prefer like Warren, Mason, or Estimé?
Chuba Hubbard had 153 rushing yards last week. I know it was the New York Giants. The schedule is tough this week against KC, but it lightens up significantly after that.
Yeah.
He's going to stay involved. They love him. Dave Canellis loves himself some Chuba Hubbard. He's going to be on the field. He's going to be splitting touches. So, no, I don't want Brooks. I want the upside on Jaylen Warren, who looks more explosive. I know Najee is still getting there. Najee will still be on the field consequently. But you know who sucks? Russell Wilson has just not been good. In case you missed it, the Steelers won the game last week, 18-16. You know how many touchdowns they scored? 0. They kicked 6 field goals. So, Russell Wilson is just not getting it done. But Jaylen Warren has the potential to get it done both on the ground and through the air. I think I want him over Brooks rest of season. And they play Cleveland twice in the next 3 weeks. You can run all over Cleveland. I expect Arthur Smith to do just that.
Yeah, I think he's the much safer play. If you're like want a guy that the role is going to be solid, it's going to be good. Like he's always chipping at Najee's heels, where Najee can't be the true bell kind of offense because Warren's just too good. So yeah, like I like him a lot. I'm just kind of just like I want to see it happen with Warren at one point where it finally happens. I don't think he's ever going to get it, but like he's just the much safer play between the two. We talked about this earlier. Javonte definitely. Roshan terrifying. Javonte, you know what you're getting out of that. We got a trade question here. Send a trade for Saquon, give up McLaurin, James Cook, and Kate Otten. That's a lot. But I don't mind it at all. You currently have Brock Bowers. I mean, you have a stacked team, so I understand why you would do that. Yeah, I mean, I would do it too. Yeah,
do it.
If it works for you, like particularly, I think Otten massively boosts this. If that team needs a tight end, that's kind of the deal. I think it could work for both teams. But don't be shocked if they just say no because they have Saquon, and Saquon's a true difference maker. So don't mind doing that at all. But
Would you take McLaurin out and put someone like maybe they value BTJ more? I'd be surprised if they do in redraft. But would you take McLaurin out and do DK Metcalf?
Yeah, I think I would.
Would you add BTJ to this?
You mean like make it a 4-for-1 deal?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess. I mean, you're probably gonna they're 1-9. Yeah, this team obviously is down bad, and they're probably out of the playoffs already. It's probably too late for them. So they might just have given up on the season, right? Yeah. So if it's dynasty, I don't want to give up all this for freaking Saquon. That's terrible.
Yeah, I agree.
Shit ton. Particularly if it's Metcalf instead of McLaurin. But yeah, like I think you could do James Cook and Kate Otten in dynasty, and that gets you close.
Oh, it's
But yeah, if it's redraft,
it's redraft. Yeah.
So,
add
BTJ. Yeah, or you swap in like if they like Irving more, or what you kind of make this work. I'm not trading Chase Brown. I don't want to trade CMC.
Agree.
The other guys are on the table. I would try to figure out a way. Obviously not ARSB, Puka, those two guys. I don't want to trade any of those four. If you could get this deal done without those guys, you'd be smashed.